Today is Monday, May 6, 2024. From Columbus, Ohio, I'm your host, Robb Dunewood.
And out of the suburbs of Atlanta, this is Terrance Gaines, a.k.a. Brother Tech, a.k.a. Just the Two of Us. I'm going to keep the a.k.a. to just the two of us when literally it's just the two of us. Stephanie is out for the week, so it's going to be me and Robb for this episode.
Yeah, I believe she is hosting like Philly Tech Week this week. So she's got her hosting gig going for pretty much most of the week while that big event goes on where she's at. But we're gonna go ahead and hold it down, man. How was your week?
Oh, it's just fine, man. Can't complain. Had a smooth weekend. The kids are getting closer to getting out of school, so getting ready for that transition from school to camp to all these other things. But other than that, man, can't complain.
I know, man. I just came off a vacation, and it was the perfect amount of days because one more day I would have felt like I'm ready to go home. One less day, it's like, I ain't ready to go home yet. So I think my wife got the timing just right for where we were at, and had a pretty good time this past
All
weekend.
right.
So
Sounds good.
So I'm relying a lot on you. You got a lot of stories in here today because I have not been paying attention to the tech news for the last week. I jumped in and looked at a couple of things, but we can go ahead and get started in this. The first one that I actually threw in here was kind of up your wheelhouse. I don't know what you know, but Apple is having an event tomorrow, their Let Loose event, where is this the first time in 2 years or 3 years they're releasing new iPads? No, it's been a minute.
At least 2 years.
So I know there's a lot of folks that are really, really excited about all the new iPads that are coming out. So things that we know.
Well, rumored to come out. We don't know nothing yet.
Yeah, technically it's not official. So what we think we're going to see tomorrow, start off with an iPad Pro that has an OLED display. And I think it's a little bigger. Does it go from like 12.9 inches to 13 inches or something like that? So did it get a little bigger, or what was the rumors on
that? It's probably still going to be 12.9 inches with the OLED screen on the iPad Pro, the 11 and the 12.9 inches. I don't see them changing the sizes from that because that'll mess up a whole lot of, in my opinion, I think it would mess up a lot of production speed and quality if they're got to announce a brand new size, which ain't that much bigger than the 12.9.
Yeah, 0.19 inch.
Yeah, like say if it was 15 inch, but then that's just ridiculous.
You might as well just have a whole laptop at that point. There also is a new iPad Air with new size options. The Apple Pencil, they're making a bit more functional. And then there's a new Magic Keyboard. Now, there's a bunch of other stuff, but everything is in a rumor category. And my gut tells me by the time many people are watching this or listening to this, we will actually know because this show comes out tomorrow. The event is actually tomorrow. So, but you have any thoughts on anything? You plan on grabbing some new hotness?
Well, Mother's Day is coming up, and my wife uses her iPad a lot and also uses her Apple Pencil a lot to jot notes, to do daily plan management, all that good stuff. So it depends on how fast. So let me go back. Everything is rumored with the exception of the Apple Pencil. It's pretty much a far gone conclusion that the Apple Pencil, they're going to announce either a new Apple Pencil or a new Apple Pencil gesture / feature / function, right? What people are alluding to is the ability to squeeze the Apple Pencil to get a different function or a different gesture. Right now, with the Apple Pencil 2, the only thing you can do is double tap, and based on your settings, based on your preferences, you can change that double tap on the pencil to do different things. Like, for instance, with my Apple Pencil, I write, and then if I want to erase, I double tap the pencil. It turns the pencil to an eraser, and then I can erase, double tap, it goes back to the pencil, I can write again. Well, the rumor is they are announcing a new gesture, which instead of just double tapping or in addition to double tapping, you can squeeze the pencil and it'll give you a different function. A lot of people are assuming that either when you squeeze the pencil, that'll automatically pop up the eraser so you can erase, or what I think would be cool is what I think would be dope. I don't know if this is going to happen, but if instead of doing a gesture to do the erase, to call the erase function, I just flip the Apple Pencil on its head on the flip side. Instead of writing, flip it around like a traditional pencil and then start to erase. And then the head or the top of the Apple Pencil would actually erase on the screen. So you'd be able to do input on both sides with the exception of being able to erase. That's what I think would be dope if the Apple Pencil does that.
That would actually be
But
cool because it
right,
replicates what people are already used to. For folks who still use pen and paper or
right,
pencil and paper, that's exactly how we used to do it when we was in school. You would flip it over and use that eraser on the other end. So it would make sense if they
right.
did do something like that. That would actually be kind of
Yeah,
cool.
but that would be a lot because both ends would have to be responsive to the screen.
Hmm.
So my assumption is that squeeze function, you'll be able to program or set up an additional function, which probably default would be the eraser. So all that around the world, all the way around the world to say, if they announce it tomorrow and they start selling them soon, like in recent years, Apple has announced products and made it available for purchase that day. So
Hmm.
fingers crossed. I'm hoping they make it available for purchase that day or later that week so I can rush and get one for Mother's Day for my wife
Yeah, you got
because she's looking
6 days.
forward.
Actually
Yeah,
5 days once they make this
yeah.
announcement tomorrow. So yeah, it's cutting it
If
kind
they
of
don't
close.
do that, if they don't do that, I'm scrambling for Mother's Day.
Okay.
So that is what I'm looking forward to the most. Other than that, iPad Pro with OLED display, I could care less because the screen is just as beautiful as it is. All they're going to make it is more beautifuler, which I don't see that much of a eyeball difference because the screen is already as nice as, in my opinion, as it can be. The iPad Air, they may announce a 12.9-inch option to that. Right now, the only screen size you can get in an iPad Air is an 11-inch. So if you wanted to get the iPad Air and larger, similar to the iPad Pro, that's what they're rumoring. The new size option is going to be the 12.9-inch iPad Air. But my guess is they're just going to announce the iPad Air with the M2 Apple Silicon chip. That's my guess. And
Okay.
then you also mentioned like the Magic Keyboard. I'm thinking like with the iPad Folio keyboard, the rumors are they're going to make the trackpad in the middle larger, similar, not in similar size, but similar to a MacBook trackpad. Because right now the trackpad on the Magic Keyboard for the iPads, it's a small square. They can make that a little bit bigger. So that's what they're rumoring for the Magic Keyboard is to make it actually a bigger trackpad in the middle for the iPad.
So do you use Apple Pencil very often?
Mhm. No, I don't
So
use it often. I use it when I am actually writing something down if I need to, because I don't use paper and pencil as hardly at all anymore. So I'm either typing on a computer, typing on a phone, or putting it in my iPad. Again, like I mentioned, my wife uses it way more than I do, but I use it every once in a while, maybe once or twice a week, but that's about it.
now, different technology, different brand. I have a Samsung Galaxy, what is it? Galaxy 8 Plus, which is
Okay.
like the middle size of them. And it's the screen on this thing is ridiculous. My wife bought it as a gift. She thought I was going to want the Ultra. That's just too big. It's a laptop. I mean, it's heavy
Hmm.
and all that kind of stuff. But but the Plus 8 or the 8 Plus is a really, really, really nice tablet, but it's different. When I think of a Android tablet, and this is the Samsung one, so it's one of the higher end ones that you're going to get, it is a web browser that is extremely portable. It's kind of how I view it because I don't really run apps on it. It's capable of running, I guess, apps, but there's really no apps that I run. Almost every single thing that I do on my tablet that is brand new and should be able to run the latest, greatest apps, everything is almost relegated to a browser, or I don't even bother with it. And the reason is because Android just doesn't have great iPad or iPad apps. They don't have great tablet apps at this point.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, in using your tablet, do you actually use a lot of applications on the app? That is the huge difference and the huge selling point to the iPad for me is that there's just so many applications that you can run natively right there on that device, regardless of whether you're looking at a website or not.
Mostly, yeah. Mostly iPad apps. Uh, Only reason why I go to the browser is to go to the internet, right? With the exception of like a Instagram or TikTok. Those you got to go to the web for those because there are no iPad apps for those. But for everything else, if there's an iPad app, most of the time I'm going to use it, especially when I'm watching, shows, so YouTube, um, all the streaming services, Netflix, Amazon, all those things. I will go to the app for that. But I'm finding surprisingly, I'm back and forth between like the Amazon app and then the Amazon website. It depends on if I'm just on my tablet all day, then I'll go to the Amazon app. But if I'm like switching from my computer and then doing something on my iPad, I'll go to Amazon.com in the Safari browser on my iPad. So depending on how functional or how productivity wise I'm going to be, it may depend on if I'm going to the browser because in most cases, I'm coming to the iPad strictly off my MacBook. So it's like muscle memory to go to the website and type in the website versus if I'm just on my iPad all day long, I'm more likely to go to an app.
Yeah. My true story, I was talking to my father this morning, telling him about my trip that I just came off of because we just got back last night. And was telling him, it's like, yeah, I took my my tablet just because I knew I had a couple long flights and I wanted to be able to watch content on something larger than my phone if I'm sitting on a plane for 3 hours. So I told him about my tablet. He's like, oh yeah, I've been thinking about getting a tablet. Maybe I should get that. And I was just like, hold up, wait a minute, stop. Don't, time out. Do not buy any tablet that does not say iPad on it. So then he started asking me, well, which iPad should I get? And I'm like, honestly, I don't think it matters. Go get one that you like the color and the size. And for him, he'll probably be good regardless of what it is. In fact, it could even be a year, 2, 3 years old. It wouldn't make any difference to him as long as it is an iPad. But I just saw just the world of confusion if he gets the Android version of the tablet that I have, simply because I have it. And then there's, well, how do I run this app on there? You can't. How do I get to iCloud? You can't. How do I do this? I guess technically you can't. You just got to do it through the web browser. But it's like, how do you do all these things? Simply just don't. It's like, dude, you decided to go Apple years ago. Just stay there. He's like, well, I use a PC, and it's like that's the only thing. And I say the only reason that I don't even tell you to get a Mac at this point, as far as a computer, because there's no reason. Technical reason why you need to stay on PC and couldn't get a Mac to do what you do. It's just the fact that you already have the muscle memory of a PC. You've been using them for 40 years. And there would be a week or two where you would have to get used to doing things different on the, on the MacBook. And I know if one thing is not in the same place, you'd be irritated. Why'd you tell me to get this? So I'm telling you, stay on your PC. But if you're going to get an iPad, get a tablet, get an iPad. Just stay in the Apple ecosystem. It will make your life so much easier.
Yep.
So, man, in other news, this story kind of interested me a little bit because it's kind of funny, how this one plays out. But a few years back, Elon Musk was making some tweets about Tesla on his then Twitter account. And it caused the market to move in ways that it shouldn't have caused the market to move, where he's just, people are speculating based off of things that he's saying. And it got to a point to where he had to basically step down as chair of the company. And he basically, in order to not make things any worse, he had to agree that anytime he would tweet about Tesla, all of his tweets would first have to go through legal before they could actually put out on the open internet. So it looks like he says, I don't want this anymore. I want to be able to tweet or post or whatever you call it on X now, without having to go through this intermediary that is a lawyer that's going to check to make sure he's not putting anything out there that violates rules, and has taken this all the way to the Supreme Court. And they were like,
is it,
nah, dog.
So let me real fast. Let me interject. Is it violating rules, or the fact that when he says something, the market moves so much that a lot of people potentially make and lose money. And they're like, nah, we can't do that. We can't have you saying stuff and the market moves so much to where, everybody's talking about it in the sense that, he's people are actually benefiting or losing, i.e. losing revenue, losing money. You know, the tech stocks are big to where if they are almost market shapers, to where if they have a bad day or they have a good day, that is an indication heavily on how the day in the market as a whole is going. And the fact that he's running his mouth, moving the market, where it sounds like they're less concerned about violating laws and more concerned about, we don't want the economy or the market for that day or for that week or for however long he's running his mouth to move so many different ways that they can't predict it. I'm just speculating.
I think it's yes to both of those. So what precipitated this, and it wasn't just one, it was several tweets, but the big one was when he just went on Twitter and said, yeah, I've secured enough funding to take Tesla private. Him saying that caused Tesla stock to run. I mean, it ran up, which you think it would. If you hear that a company that is as valuable as Tesla is about to be taken private, people are going to buy while they still can, because they believe that the price that you're going to agree to pay for is going to be higher than what the stock price is right now. So it caused all that to run up. And that's what got the SEC looking at it. It's like, whoa, you are the chairman of the board. You are the CEO of this company. You just can't all willy nilly just.
That's it. That's almost insider trading, ain't it? Am I tripping?
You would think
if he can say something, right? If he can say something and the market's going to move up or down, he benefits from that market move, that's almost public outside inside trading.
So this is why he agreed that, well, because I basically had, my grandmother used to call it diarrhea of the mouth. You basically just out there running his mouth and saying these things that may or may not be true, but because they ultimately can affect the market, because he is Elon Musk, he is the chairman, or at least at the time was the chairman of the board, is the CEO of the company, that the SEC is like, no, you can no longer do this. So the agreement a few years back, was that he would no longer make tweets without sending them through law, through legal, to make sure that he wasn't violating any rules, that he wasn't going to, bring sanctions back on the company, because it wasn't just the SEC. The Tesla board wasn't happy about him doing that either, because it was just, it created turmoil and more work for them. So he's like, well, it's my freedom of speech to be able to say whatever I want. And what the SCOTUS has told him, what the Supreme Court of the United States has said, is like, nah, not when you are the CEO of the company. You agreed that this is what you wouldn't do. We're going to hold you to that agreement. So what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, anybody else, this would be surprising, but for Elon Musk, it's just par for the course nowadays. The fact that he has to, or the Supreme Court is now forced to make a decision on this dude because of who he is, not because of, sure, he's, the owner or CEO or whatever of Tesla and X and not BlueSky. I was about to say BlueSky. What is his spaceship?
SpaceX.
SpaceX, and what's the satellite thing? That's part of SpaceX.
Part of SpaceX, but
anyway,
yeah, all of that.
He's stuff. He is a entrepreneur, billionaire businessman, and when he talks, people tend to pay attention, for good or bad. But it's just sad that it's gone beyond him just talking to where when he says stuff, things move. Now you would think, oh, I'm so influential, I'm such a titan in industry that, when I say something, everybody pays attention. But in this case, that's not always good, because now you can't say nothing, because, the Supreme Court and the SEC, and all these other people are watching you. It's like, all right, be careful what you wish for, because you might get it.
Yeah, and like I said, I was reading through just what a lot of folks are saying on this particular story, and because this thing is that, well, my freedom of speech, my First Amendment rights are being violated, and what a lot of scholars are saying is like, no, your First Amendment rights are not being violated. Go ahead, step down from, step down as the CEO of this
Mhm.
company that you run, and then you can say whatever you want to say, and the market will just deal with it. But as long as you are ultimately the person who is at the helm of the company, there are regulations that prevent you from saying certain things. And up until most CEOs have been really good about
Comply.
not
Yep.
saying those,
Yep.
complying and not doing those kind of
Mhm.
things. But
Mhm.
because you did this and you caused this kind of turmoil, we are going to sanction the company. It's like we're talking about millions of dollars, not billions, or hundreds of, not even hundreds of millions, just millions of dollars that it cost them, and sanctions and fines and stuff like that. But the point is that you need a babysitter. We can no longer trust you to not
Mhm.
wreck economies with just saying stuff all willy-nilly,
Which is
regardless of
sad.
just
Which is
saying
sad.
stuff just off the top of the dome. Hey, you know what, I secured funding, I could buy this company if I wanted to. The tweet was literally something like that. It was,
Right.
it,
Which
it
is
wasn't something he was planning on doing. It was just something that I could do this if I chose to do it.
sad. It's sad that that little, well, I mean, little in the sense of just a sentence or two, but large in the implications. But it's, to me, it's just sad that anybody has that much ability to where the economy is at stake. No one person, I don't care who you are, no one person should be able to say, you know what, I like this company, or I don't like that company all that much. And the entire market could shift. I don't know if that is props to Elon Musk or shame on our American economy that we're swayed by such a small thing as somebody tweeting something. I don't know which one it is. Jury's still out on that
Yeah,
one.
and there are breakers in the market that keep things from happening. Like you will see if some news comes out and it sends a stock up too much or sends a stock down too much, these breakers will actually holding, or I should say, halt trading and stuff like that. They will hold when those particular breakers or thresholds get met. But the SEC basically doesn't want CEOs making it worse. They don't want chairmen of boards of literally some of the biggest companies on earth, uh, you know, to just to make things worth. And that's what he was doing with his tweeting, and why they decided that nope, we're going to keep these rules in place. And here's what makes it even worse: they didn't even comment. They just refused to hear the contentions from his lawyers, saying that this is what they wanted to do. They were like, "We're not going to even have the conversation. No, we're going to keep things like they were, keep it moving." So it's like, okay, well, I need to take this higher. It's like, well, no, there is no higher. It's like, this is the Supreme Court of the United States. There's no court to go to higher, for this. So I don't know if they will come back and try to do something at another point, but the fact that they wouldn't really even hear the arguments for why he should now be allowed to tweet without I want to say like parental consent, but it's not really parental consent, it's legal consent. They just, you've had that power before, you abused it, therefore we're no longer going to allow you to have it. And here's the thing: it wasn't like this is what the SEC said he had to do. This is what wasn't what a court said he had to do. This was something that he proposed to the court to basically not have to do more things that would be adverse to him as far as his seating at Tesla. And the court said, okay, yeah, we will accept this. Send everything through a lawyer before it hits the open internet, and you can continue to, keep this job. So it's just interesting to be. It's like, he's trying to make it a free speech thing, but as I said, scholars are saying it's like, you want your free speech, just step down. You can say all the things you want to say when you're not in a position to control this part of the economy with the things that you say, because you're loose at the lips. So this isn't even a Twitter story, but it's kind of related. But Jack Dorsey has left BlueSky. So do you think that means anything? Now, for those who don't know, Jack Dorsey, he actually was on the board of BlueSky up until recently, and it looks like somebody just asked him via X, say, "Hey, are you still on the board?" And he just answered, "Nope." I don't want to put words in his mouth. He didn't say nope. He said no, but it was just the short 2-word answer or 2-letter answer, no. And then it came out that he has actually left the board of BlueSky. But what do you think this means? Because
I don't know. I put it in there to ask you. Well, I do know that according to the story that he's got money someplace else, possibly in a competing project.
Okay.
But I was curious as to if X ain't it, and Instagram is just okay, and Facebook is for your parents, and TikTok may be gone this time next year. It's like, what does that mean for social media platforms? Does that mean um, people are just stuck on X and Instagram and Facebook? You mentioned, not you mentioned, but you are a user of Threads. I'm not really. I do every once in a while, I may show up, but I don't have the the not the due diligence, but the dedication to stay around. But does this mean that there is a new contender on the market if Jack Dorsey is putting his money elsewhere and he's not with Twitter/X and he's not with BlueSky? Is there another contender? Do we have enough room in our mental minds to contemplate moving or shifting to a new social media platform? That's kind of like what I meant by, what does this mean? Is there another contender out there, or are we just stuck with the 3 or 4 we got right now?
So stuck is a sticky word, pun intended, because that would assume that no other social media platform could come up. Well, that clearly was not the case for TikTok. TikTok definitely has been on the come up for the last half a decade or however long you want to look at it. I mean, they definitely have, they came out of nowhere. It overtook Instagram, and it actually has got to where Meta is looking to do different things, and it's grown so big and it's grown so fast, and so much money has moved through that platform that has actually had our government say, we don't like it being controlled out of a company that is based in Beijing, China, so we're going to ban it if you don't divest. So I don't want to say that it can't happen. We see, and I know some folks are going to say, well, this is not fair that Meta's behind this, but Meta launched Threads not a year ago. It came out July last year, so it's only 10 months old, not even yet. And granted, it's based off of anyone who had an Instagram account could automatically have a Threads account, but Meta didn't create Threads accounts for you. You still had to go and enable your Threads account from your Instagram account if that's how you chose to do it. So the fact that they've been able to grow at the speed that they've been able to grow, it can still be done. Now, it may not be the little guy. It may not be the mastodon. It may not be, the BlueSky that is the next thing. But I don't think we can say that there's not going to be another thing, because we could very well see in the next 9 months a changing of the guard again. So that being said, I kind of wonder, is Jack Dorsey just one of those folks that he just gets bored with stuff after a while? I want to start this thing, get it to a point, and then when it's not new anymore and it gets into okay, now this company actually needs to be really managed. This company now actually needs to be really run. This company actually needs to be taken to the next level. If that is not as intriguing to him as things are when they're ideas and when they're startup and when it's fun and it's just, you and the folks, you and the crew just trying to come up with something new. I don't know that to be the case. I mean, I have no idea. I don't know Jack Dorsey. I've never met him or anything like that, but I just kind of wonder, because this isn't the only thing that he's done this with. He's made this kind of move with a lot of things that he has started up. And it seems like when they turn from these fun projects that are just cool to do something new into they're now actual companies with business models, and they need management and they need to be run and managed properly. just may not be as fun. So he kind of moves on. Is that the case here? At some point, maybe we'll know, maybe we never will. But I kind of wonder, just because this isn't a new move for him. This is something that he does repeatedly. And I actually know other folks, not at the Jack Dorsey level, but that's kind of how they're wired. It's like they really are into something when it is the startup, but when it becomes the business, they're looking to make their exit and go do another startup. So one of the things that another thing that you stuck in our notes for today was that kind of caught my eye was this story on community college and AI, where it seems to be a good place for folks to go and actually get some knowledge on artificial intelligence. And we've talked about this on the show before. I don't know that we've gotten to the bubble phase. Like there was a point to where we got with everybody was trying to do a coding boot camp, and you're going to go do this coding boot camp for 6 weeks. And when you get done, there's going to be $170,000 job waiting for you. And that really wasn't the case. It was for some folks who got in very, very early. And in most cases, those boot camps are more than 6 weeks. They might have been more like 6 months type of things. But I think that we're kind of starting to see the same thing with AI. AI is everywhere. AI is everything. But now we're starting to see where you can actually go to community college and get some knowledge on just how to navigate through the AI world. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, actually, my thoughts had nothing to do with that. My thoughts had everything to do with all of the problems with 4-year universities, i.e., or point A, exhibit A is how much they cost.
Mm-hmm.
This is college season. We've got a lot of parents proudly on Facebook announcing commit day, where the kids are publicly telling the world where they're going to college. And most of them are still traditional 4-year colleges, right? But the rise in cost in 4-year colleges is, out of the, it is so expensive. I've got a sophomore in high school. She'll be a junior next year. And right now is when we're starting to take her to college tours and, visiting different universities and campuses and really trying to drill into, all right, what's going to be your area of expertise post high school, right? But personally, I am shook as to how much college is going to cost. And not more importantly, in addition to the stress that I have watched some of my colleagues go through trying to win scholarships, it's like that takes up so much time of the kids' time that they could be using that to actually figure out, all right, well, what am I going to major in? What do I like? What do I look forward to studying for the next 4, 5, 6 years? Do I even want to go to college? All these things that juniors and seniors in high school should be contemplating right now. Everybody's zeroed in on how much college costs, how we're going to afford it, how we're going to get all these scholarships. And to me, I don't want to say it does kids a disservice, but then you add to the, I don't want to upset my parents, right? So let me fill out some applications. Let me do some scholarship entries. Let me do what I got to do to make my parents happy that I'm going to this 4-year university. It's going to cost a grip, right? So when I saw this story, I was like, oh, so you mean to tell me that a kid could, out of high school, could go to a 2-year university. It's only going to take it 2 years at a time. And it's not going to cost, it maybe costs a third of what it would cost to go to a 4-year university. If that, and you'll get a leg up on the future, which we all are kind of agreeing that AI in some shape, form, fashion is going to be the future. So you mean to tell me I can do that and it not be expensive, it not take up all that much time, and it's future proof. It's like, why aren't more parents, why aren't more kids pushing, or not pushing, actually adding a community college as an option? I don't know. You know, you can tell me, you've got college kids that have graduated and are currently in college. You know, what is the, is community college in the contention now that it's less expensive and you can get the same sort of education as far as job is concerned, not necessarily as far as education overall, but going to school to get a job? Why wouldn't you go to community college? That's kind of like that's where I was going with this whole story.
So I have some very, very good friends, and their oldest son is a year younger than my youngest daughter. And he actually got accepted. He's, they live here in Columbus. He got accepted to go to Ohio State this year. Now, even being in Ohio State is not inexpensive. I mean, it's inexpensive compared to private school, but it's not an inexpensive school to go to. So you're looking at, room and board to go to Ohio State without scholarships. Now, you probably would have gotten, a grant here or there or something like that, but you're probably talking $13,000 to $16,000 per year for an in-state student that would stay on campus. Compared to, he decided that even though he's accepted there, and it's like, okay, I got to spend this. Actually, I said 13 to 16. It's probably more than that. It's more like 16 to 19 now, because I'm thinking about when my oldest was thinking about going to Ohio State. That was 8 years ago. So the price has definitely gone up. But let's just say you're south of 20 grand a year to go, to Ohio State. But he could go to Columbus State, take the same core classes for the first 2 years of school, and instead of paying, let's just say 16 to 20 grand to go, he's going to be paying like $1,350 a semester to go. To take the same courses. So his plan is to go to, the community college for his first 2 years, get all of those, all of that stuff, the one-on-one classes and all that kind of stuff you have to get out of the way just by nature of going to a 4-year school, get that out of the way, then go to Ohio State where he's already been accepted and finish his degree. But the thing is, he's working. He has a skill set. When he goes to Ohio State, my gut tells me he wouldn't be going as a traditional student, be more of a non-traditional student, someone who doesn't necessarily live on campus, so he doesn't have that cost, and someone who probably has, if not a full-time job, a job making, decent part-time money to where he's now funding that ability to go to Ohio State. In addition, if he does really well in the community college, there will be more scholarships and things for him as a non-traditional student to go to Ohio State at some point later. So this was a plan. It's like, do we go ahead and spend this money now? Because for him, he was going to definitely have to get some loans. It's like, so do I get loans for 4 years so I can just be on campus? Or do I go to school literally down the street from Ohio State? He can go hang out at Ohio State all the time he wants, because Columbus State and Ohio State are really not that far apart. They're actually quite close to each other. But do I have to physically be there taking those classes at that increased rate? And he and his family decided no. So this may have been a program, to bring it back to these AI programs that are being offered in community colleges, that may have been something that he might have been interested in if that was his area. So he could actually go get this skill set, maybe go out and get a job that would then fund him going to Ohio State, or maybe he gets a job that would actually pay for him to go to Ohio State. You never know how that works. I see a lot of that happening because it is so expensive to go to school anymore. And you see a lot of students, with the student loan debt, and they literally never get out of it. I mean, I when I was in corporate, I knew folks who were coming in right out of college. They had $150,000 to $200,000 in school loans. And it's like, you literally have a house that you can't live in, can't bathe in, and can't go and park your car at. It's just, you've got this bill where if you're trying to pay it off in anything less than 20 to 30 years, you're probably, if you got $200,000 in loans, you're probably paying $1,500 to, close to $2,000 a month. and trying to get those things paid off.
And we're
Yeah,
normalizing it.
yeah,
We've normalized student loan debt. We have normalized pushing our kids into four-year universities that are expensive, that they may not be ready for. We're pushing our kids into, we're pushing the idea of you have to have a degree, a four-year degree at least. A lot of people I know automatically went on to get their master's degree, and tell the truth. They ain't doing none of that they went to
mhm.
college for. They in some other field, some other, profession. So if we know that being the case, we know student debt, we're normalizing student debt. We know kids are not, the stats show that people who go to college, it's not the same track of they are actually in that profession come 10, 20 years from now, right? If we know all that, why are we not? And like I said, with the adaptation of online, which is making colleges, specifically online colleges, more accessible, they're less expensive. And like I mentioned, going back to the story, you can get a good education, from a 2-year community college university, as in like AI. It's like, I wonder, when are we going to, as a society, start to shift from, oh, and I forgot this. And a lot of companies are starting to fall back on the idea of you needing a four-year degree. If you got the skills and you can, prove you ain't lying on your resume, as far as where you went, what you've done, a lot of corporations are really not requiring a four-year degree. That's almost like a screening element or a screening tool, but it's not really required. So when you add all that up, I'm curious as to when are we going to start this shift away from, you have to go to a four-year degree, you have to get student loan debt, you got to make the decision now. You can't
Mhm.
wait until 2 or 3 years after you go to high school to decide, oh, now this is what I want to do. Community college seems to offer that option that would work for a lot of people, but yet we're still kind of pushing our kids, pushing education. So I'm just curious as to when we'll start to make that shift.
I
Is it
think
is
we've
it
already started to
popular?
make it. I
Okay.
think we've already started to make it because you now have factions depending on how you lean politically, on student loan repayment and this and that and the other. And I understand if, well, I didn't go to school and get that $110,000 loan or $110,000 in loans, and it's just going to be forgiven. So, okay, if that's forgiven, why can't I just get a tax write off, for that, with me not going to school? I hear those kind of conversations all the time. But it's starting to happen because I see so many jobs. When I was a hiring manager, which I was for most of my career, I was in a position to hire people. And what a degree meant to me, if it wasn't an advanced degree, if it was just, you just had a bachelor's degree or a bachelor of science, bachelor of arts or bachelor of science degree, it generally meant that you were committed to something and you completed it in 4 or 5 years. That's basically what that meant to me, as a hiring manager. What I was way more concerned about was, what can you do? What is your skill set? What skill set did you get out of these 4-year degrees? What I see a lot now, because I still mentor some young folks and this and that and the other, and one of the things I'm telling them is, like, you need to take every opportunity to get every moment of of internship that you possibly can, so you can actually go learn how to do something other than being a student. Now, I'm not going to be one of those folks who just tells you that 4-year colleges are just stupid and you don't learn anything and that kind of stuff. I don't believe that. I believe that just, being, 18, 19 years old, going into that type of environment, the friends that you make and all that kind of stuff, those 4-year schools generally help you become a rounded person, or at least I hope that they would, if you actually value the time that it was there and you use it wisely. So there's other things there, but it doesn't have to cost that much. You can still get that without having to go and spend that kind of money. And even though there are still some types of jobs that are going to absolutely be gate kept by where you went to school, if you're trying to work maybe at the most prestigious law firms in the Boston, New York, Philadelphia areas, then you probably needed to go to one of the Ivy League schools. That's just kind of what they require if they are the top tier in the world. There's a few places that, if you want to get money based on your idea when you're only in your 20s, it probably helped if you actually graduated from Stanford. Those kind of things are true. But outside of that, for almost everything else, I don't want to say that hiring managers don't care. They just don't care as much about where you went to school and what grade you got at school, as long as you graduated. That doesn't mean more than actual work experience and actual, being able to actually come in here and solve some problems. So if you have someone who went to community college for 2 years, did this AI thing, and they can come in, and then the next 2 years, they actually did go as a non-traditional student and finish their 4-year degree, but they now have 4 years of working in AI before they come to your company. Or you've got the person who graduated with a philosophy degree, and this is the first job they're applying for. You don't match up when you don't have the skill set. That's why I say you really need to take a look at doing all of those internships and stuff like that. Any type of actual job experience you can get, the better. We talked about, I think, a story last week where, one of the things was, I think it was in our rundown. We didn't talk about it, but there was a story last week where there are, HBCUs and doing some things with AI to where the goal for this program, and I can't think of it off the top of my head, but the goal of this program is to actually go into these HBCUs and just make it so that there is more actual real world experience for the students, so that when they come out of these 4-year colleges, they can go right into the workforce without having to go in at the very bottom of the totem pole and learn a role, to where like folks are saying, is it worth it to spend $120,000 in your education to get a job that only makes you 40? And that is a real question, because if you're only making 40 when you first start right out of college, it's going to take a minute to pay the $120,000 back. If you're being if you are trying to have a home, trying to have a car, maybe start a family, those kind of things, you are behind the 8 ball a bit if you have that kind of debt on that kind of salary.
And right now they tripping on college campuses. So, yeah, yeah. So we need to rethink this whole this college post-secondary education thing, because it ain't adding up, if you ask me. And this story with getting people the ability to learn AI in 2 years, I don't know. That may be the lane I may be forcing my kids down in 2 to 4 years from now.
Yeah, and we say this all the time on this show. Don't forget about trades. You don't have to be a college student. You do not have to go to college. Now, once again, I'm not going to be that person that's going to talk about, that all 4-year schools are a scam. They are not. Everyone on this show is a product of a 4-year school. You and Steph are products of 4-year HBCUs. There's a lot of good that comes out of these. But you just have to weigh, does it make sense to go into that kind of debt when you don't have to, when you could actually go and do things that are going to significantly decrease the cost of getting relatively the same amount of information, as far as your education is concerned? So, man, I'm looking at the clock, and I didn't realize it seemed like we just kind of flew right through this episode. Of talking about the stories, but we're getting close to the top of the hour. So before we do, I do want to let folks know that if you would like to support the Tech Jawn, there's a couple ways. I'm actually going to talk about, one of them today. One of the ways you can support the show is by becoming a patron. Now, patron, if you were to go over to patreon.com/the Tech Jawn, that's the Tech JAWN, you're going to find multiple tiers over there. Any one of those tiers gets you access to our live stream. So as Terrance and I are recording this podcast, we're also recording a live stream with video along with the audio. And if you like to get access to that, each one of those tiers on our Patreon gets you access to that. Also, what Patreon does for you is that if you like to listen to an ad-free RSS stream, because we do have ads pre-roll, mid-roll, and post-roll in the show. You can get that as well. So you don't have to listen to any of our ads by becoming a member of the top 2 tiers on our Patreon. So once again, if you'd like to support the show so that we can bring this tech to you the way that we do, head over to patreon.com/the Tech Jawn. We didn't have any new patrons this week, but I do once again want to let everybody know it's one of the best ways to support the show if you're so inclined to do so. So head over to patreon.com/the Tech Jawn. So Terrance, let folks know how they can get at you.
Sure. You can find me all over the internet at Brother Tech. That's BROTHATCH. Also, tomorrow, me and my co-host Nika Monfort from the Snob OS Show will be on DTNS, because like Rob mentioned at the top, tomorrow is Apple event day. They're going to be announcing some new things. So not promptly, since they are shifting the Apple event show to earlier in the morning, later that afternoon, if you want to get our takes on what was announced, how much things cost, what we're getting, please go to the Daily Tech News Show to get that live and get that episode on YouTube.
Yeah, I will be back with Daily Tech Headlines tomorrow. Something tells me that I'll be talking a lot about different iPads to come out on that show before you guys actually do DTNS. For those of you who would like to reach me, I am at Robb Dunewood on all the things. And we are also at the Tech Jawn on all the things, the Tech JAWN. So come holler at us however you holler until we meet again in a week's time. Peace.